Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for those who have been with us all day. Amazing. For those of you coming and going, also amazing. Thank you so much. I know we said this at the beginning of the day, but all of these sessions will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, so you can come in and self-select whenever you want, share them with your teammates. I highly suggest you keep an eye on our channel for this session and the next session, where Aaron West Group Operation Shamrock is also doing the Train the Trainer bonus session at the end of the day. But before I get ahead of myself, I want to introduce a very dear friend of mine. It's an honor and a privilege to introduce a trailblazer in the fight against digital crime, someone whose work stands at the very convergence of payments risk, online fraud, and transnational organized networks. Aaron West. And I'm going to read about you, and I know you hate it, but I'm doing it anyway.
Okay.
Uh, 26 years as a prosecutor, including 8 on the React High Tech Task Force, where she became known for her relentless pursuit of crypto criminals. Erin now leads a cross-border fight to expose the scam economy, mobilize action, and protect both victims and the trafficked workers forced to run these schemes. She is also the host of Stolen, a podcast that brings listeners inside the darkest corners of the scamdemic, where love is weaponized, billions are laundered, and real people pay the price. A sought-after speaker and educator, Erin continues to equip and inspire audiences around the world to use their skills, platforms, and tools to fight back. Her leadership reminds us that detection isn't enough. We must connect the dots, share intelligence, disrupt the flows, and put victims first. Erin, thank you so much for joining us. I cannot thank you enough. Take it away.
Well, thank you so much for having me. You've got me at a fantastic moment, actually, because I have just arrived. I've just arrived in Uganda. And what I'm doing here is getting better educated about the human trafficking pipeline into transnational organized crime. I spent the afternoon with a victim who was trafficked into two of literally the worst compounds in Southeast Asia. And we talked through what can be done to stop this African pipeline into the compounds that are fueling transnational organized crime in Southeast Asia. So it's a delight to be here. I'm thrilled and I'm ready to get started. Now, I don't know, I can't see you, so I don't know exactly how many of you are familiar with the pig butchering scam, but I will guess from the number of times that I do this work that there are at least a few of you on this call who don't know what a pig butchering scam is. And quite frankly, it is the silent killer. It is responsible for the movement, the theft of a generation's worth of wealth out of the United States alone, but also many other countries. So let me tell you how it works, because I bet you do know something about it. So it's going to start with a victim, it's going to start out with a scammer reaching out in one way. Now, it could be as easy as a dating app. It could be a Instagram friendship, a Facebook friendship. It could be something on LinkedIn, or it could also be just sending out a text that looks like this. What these scammers are trying to do is get your attention. And they just want to get your attention long enough to say, hey, my dog's not eating his food. Can you help me make an appointment? Basically, they just want to play on our sympathy, our kindness, our concern for a dog that's ill. Or this one, hey, Amy, please help me cancel tomorrow's yoga class. Like, whoever this is, we want to make sure that yoga class gets canceled. One that's a new one that I've just gotten in the last month is this one. Come to my house to eat ribs. You know, maybe I will. That's the thing, is all they're trying to do is get you to stop, laugh, pay attention, respond in some way. Because when you do, the next text will be this. Hi, I'm Jessica. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Now, her name's always going to be Jessica. It's going to be Jessica or Emma or Anna. It's going to be a cute American sounding name. And her name could just as easily be Ethan or Evan, because we know that women are getting hit just as hard as men are. And you've got the benefit of me having sat with a human trafficking victim this afternoon to tell you that his target audience, who he was after, was males, 35 and above, single. and interested in cryptocurrency. And that was his target. And so that was who he was out looking for, looking to connect with. But let me tell you what Jessica's going to do. And my victim, small Q, when he looked at this, he said, oh yeah, we were always going to the gym. That was something we would always say. So what's happening here, and the reason why I'm going into detail about what Jessica will say, is because if it has not already happened to you, it is going to happen to you in the next 12 months, that you will have to try and help somebody get out of a situation like this. That's how ubiquitous it is. These scammers have hit us so hard that guaranteed you know someone who has had money stolen from them in this way. But the fact is, the enemy is genius, and they've chosen a crime that people don't like to report because it is embarrassing and humiliating. So when somebody reveals to you that this has happened to them, or you suspect, what I need you to do is lead with empathy. I need you to give this person an opportunity to tell that story. So you don't want to say, oh, this sounds like a scam. As hard as it is to do, I believe that, because I know it's not easy. But what you want to do is empathize and say something like, oh, I don't know if you've heard about a scam like this, but this is what it is. So what Jessica's going to do is, Jessica has an agenda over the next 3 to 4 months. She is going to become the relationship that you wish you had, the relationship that you've always dreamed of. But to do that, she needs to get off the platform that she is right now, and she's going to move this conversation to WhatsApp. So again, this is another common piece of this that we want to be able to relay to a victim that comes up in our life. We want to be able to say, hey, I've heard that they usually move a conversation to WhatsApp. Do you know anything about that? Has that something like that happened to you? Now, over the next 3 to 4 months, Jessica is going to spend an inordinate amount of time texting you. And you're going to be happy to have that contact, that she is going to provide the type of relationship that you always wanted. I have talked to many a victim who has come out of the financial side of this and who has said, well, I will say it was the best relationship of my life, or I really mourn the loss of that relationship. So when you look at what's happening over that 4-month period, Jessica is going to be showing you an elevated lifestyle, because Jessica is doing a couple of things over this time period. She is building a trust with you that is going to supersede your trust in anyone else. She's going to isolate you. She's going to use super specific psychological techniques that will motivate you to do what she says and to trust only her. The other thing she's doing during this time period is she's finding out exactly how much money you have, because that's the difference between pig butchering and any other type of romance scam that we may have heard about in the past. We are being hit smack in the face with pig butchering, because it does not end until they have stolen every penny you have. I'll walk you through that in a minute, but it's important to understand that that's the difference. That's why it's so destructive. But in order to get you to do something you wouldn't ordinarily do, and that is invest in cryptocurrency, Jessica is going to show you an elevated lifestyle. She definitely does yoga. She probably also plays golf, and she is traveling to a fancy location. And you will be picking up on all of that. And finally, you'll have a conversation where you'll say, how are you affording all this? And Jessica will say, well, actually, I invest in cryptocurrency, and I didn't know how, but my uncle taught me, and my uncle could teach you as well. So what's happening in this situation essentially is you absolutely believe that that's where she's gotten her money, because she's showing you this elevated lifestyle that she has to be paying for in some way. So when she suggests to you that you might want to invest in cryptocurrency, you're probably going to say, let me go back for a sec, you're probably going to be nervous about doing that. But she will make it easy on you, and I'll walk you through that. But first, I want to talk to you about things that are different in just the last few months about how these bad actors are doing this work. First of all, they're showing up in more unexpected places. They're not being obvious about it. So, for example, I am still on Facebook because I'm an old woman, and I'm in the over 50 women's travel group because I'm an old woman who loves to travel. And so sometimes when I am traveling and I'm up at weird hours, I will scroll this. I started noticing an exorbitantly attractive group of members who just happened to roll into this group all at once. And so one of them was Emily Parker. Now, when I saw this picture, I thought, she does not look like the rest of us. She looks fancier than the rest of us. And so I thought, I do not believe you are Emily Parker from Nashville. So I reverse image searched and I found, oh, no, she definitely is not Emily Parker from Nashville. She is, in fact, Ange Maranka, and she is a German influencer. So one of the common things I'm going to say to you, one of uh, my biggest I don't want to say arguments, suggestions. One of my biggest pleas to you all is you have got to find your place in helping solve this problem. And it can be as easy as police your own corner of the internet. And that's all you have to do. There are a million little things you can do, but you must do something. That is where we live right now, that the alternative is not acceptable. We need all hands with, I don't even know how to say this, but we need oars in every hand moving us forward. So what I did is I reached out to the Over 50 Women's Travel Club and I pointed out, hey, there is a scammer among us, to mixed response as expected. But here's where it was a fantastic win. So I posted this in LinkedIn for the purpose of saying, hey friends, here's what's happening now. They've completely invaded our Facebook. They are everywhere in our Facebook, these bad actors. And let me introduce you to Emily from Nashville. And this is what she's doing. This is her agenda. And just in case you don't know her agenda is to get likes and to get people to comment so that she can then reach out to you in DMs and say, oh, thank you for liking my thing. I see you're from Seattle. I have a question about Seattle. And before you know it, you have a new friend named Emily from Nashville. So, but I posted it on LinkedIn. And what I got the next day was a DM from a banker from Nashville. And he told me, thank you so much for posting Emily from Nashville because I matched with that face on Bumble. And so thank you for saving my heart and my wallet. And so I'm not saying I saved the world, but what I did save was a banker from Nashville. And we need every single one of us saving a banker from Nashville. That is the only way out of this. We need to make this the next Nigerian prince. We need to talk about it, be about it, and do something about it. It's that big of a deal. Let me walk you through how these transactions work. Jessica will say, I know you're nervous about this, so let's just use a small amount of money. Let's take $5,000 out of your checking account. And let's move it into one of these 4 places listed here. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with cryptocurrency, but I'm sure you've heard those names before if you've watched any sporting event in the past 3 years. These are US-based cryptocurrency exchanges. And despite what all the crypto bros will tell you, it's not that confusing. And for the purposes of what I'm telling you today, I want you to think of an exchange as a bank for cryptocurrency. And an exchange is exactly what it sounds like. You are going to exchange your US dollars to something called USDT or Tether. It's a stable coin. It's 1-to-1 to the US dollar. Now, what Jessica will say is, let's open up an account for you at Coinbase. She will direct you screenshot by screenshot. So if you are 25 or 85, you will be able to follow along and create an account in your name that really does belong to you, and that you are able to wire from your bank account into Coinbase, and now you have 5,000 US dollars in that account. What she will then say is, okay, now let's change those US dollars into cryptocurrency. She'll show you screenshot by screenshot. Let's flip this. This is how now your $5,000 is 5,000 Tether. And that makes sense. And so that's what you have in your very own Coinbase account. Now here's where your money gets stolen. Jessica will say, My uncle says this is a great platform. And in fact, this is what I use. And I've made millions of dollars by using this platform. So let's open an account for you on this platform. Now, if you look at this, here's another reason why the enemy has chosen a genius plan. Not only do people not want to report this, but also they've chosen a game that people don't understand. People, for the most part, don't really understand cryptocurrency. And so a learned professor type telling them what to do will be well received. And they will absolutely believe it because they are in love with Jessica. Jessica is showing that this is how you generate wealth. And this looks legit. And P.S., it's available on the App Store. So of course it's legit. So what Jessica will then show you, again, screenshot by screenshot, is how to open an account on this platform. And this is where your money gets stolen. As soon as she gives you that cryptocurrency address for you to move your money from your platform, from your Coinbase into this, your money is stolen. This whole thing is fictitious. There's nothing real about it. And your money's gone. It's gone into the hands of scammers. But here's the thing. You think this is very real because it looks very real. You will have a dashboard and it will look like any other account you have. And your 5,000 tether will go to 6,800, will go to 7,300, and will go to 10,000 tether before the week is out. And you will have all the hormones of, I am in love with a woman that is beautiful and she wants to marry me and we are going to build a house together. And then P.S., I'm also getting wealthy. Now, here's the thing. The media will tell us a lot of things because the media doesn't totally understand this either. And the media loves to give us things like, don't send your money to someone you don't know. Well, that's not what's happening here. Again, the enemy is clever. What the enemy has got you believing is you are making money for yourself. And contrary to what you might think about people being super greedy, a lot of the victims I talk to are, hey, I'm trying to get out of my student debt, or I'm trying to do something like this, and this looks like a way out. So that's what's happening. Now you've got your 10,000 in here, and you think, wow, I've literally hit the gold mine, and the hormones that are happening for you make it near impossible for anyone around you, let alone anyone in payments, anyone at a bank, to try and turn you around. And so why this all matters so much in payments is I'm showing you the way they have traditionally done it. But what we know is that bad actors will move money in any form that they can. They will exploit any weakness in the financial system to move money on wherever they can make it move. So we need to be thinking, I don't live at your shop. I don't know how your e-commerce works, but what I do know is that the bad actors do, and they're going to figure out how to move their bad money on yours. I'll give you a real example that I learned just a few weeks ago. I was in New York City and I was at an event, and a woman from a luxury brand came and sat across from me and told me that recently they've been experiencing high dollar amounts put on their gift cards. And I said, well, how much are we talking about? And she's like, oh, tens of thousands of dollars. And what she told me was that, and I said, are these Chinese nationals by any chance? Yes, they are. They come in and they buy something and then they put a bunch of money on gift cards. And it was so bad that their company decided that they would accept no more than $10,000 a day from any one customer on a gift card. And it had to be done in 5 gift cards of $2,000 each. The point is they're going to exploit any weakness. And so while I personally don't know what the weaknesses are in your business, you do. And what my job is today is to convey to you that we are under attack and that this is not getting any better, despite what you might see on TV about an indictment. And that's all great. But is that going to stop this system? No. We have been remiss in making this system stop. And as a result, we are very much behind the 8 ball in trying to make a positive impact. So here's what Jessica's going to do now. Jessica's going to say, you saw how well this did. my uncle says you should put 100,000 in this weekend. And you'll be like, whoa, that was not what I was thinking. And Jessica will say, I know it seems like a lot of money, but this is how you do it. I mean, look at me. And then Jessica will say, well, why don't we go in together? I'll put in 50,000, you put in 50,000. Now, again, look at the psychological techniques being used against you. I'm in this too. You can trust me. Why would I put my money in something bad? And it jacks up the amount in your account because now you've got her fake 50,000, your real 50,000. You've got 100,000, that doubles. Now you're at 200,000 and you are really experiencing the what if I really could have all this money? And it makes it very difficult to get people out of it. So what happens next is you will continue to put everything you have in there because that's the name of the game. Jessica is going to get you to take everything out of your 401k. She's going to have you liquidate your children's college accounts. And at the end of the day, you may have an account worth over $1 million, you think. And so you want to take some money out. And here's what happens. I know this is hard to read, but the point is this. You've got to pay 24% in taxes. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, sorry, forgot to tell you. Okay, we'll take it out of my gains. Oh, no, ma'am, it's got to be new money. Well, that is when our financial victims are losing their minds because Jessica knows they've given up every money they have. They actually don't have any more money. And so Jessica says, well, you have a house, right? Why don't you go get a second on your house? Why don't you go do a payday loan? Why don't you do whatever high percentage loan you can get because you know you're just going to turn this right around. And that's when literally people are going and getting a $240,000 loan to pay these taxes. And when they pay the taxes, they get this. Oh, congratulations, you've successfully completed your taxes. Oh, but now you need to pay 10,000 in this fee. And I am here to tell you that there are victims of financial crime that will pay that 10,000 and then they'll pay another 10,000 and then they might pay a $5,000 fee because they just are that wrapped up in this being real. I could go on for over an hour about all the psychological tricks that are being used, but suffice to say that by the time people realize that this is a scam, they still don't even understand which piece of it is a scam. Like they think they still have money, they just need to have that money unlocked, or they think that both themselves and Jessica are victims of this crime. They don't understand that Jessica was in on this from the very start. So by the time they realize that, I'm sorry, I got a text. By the time they realize that they've lost everything, they come to me and many are suicidal. Many are exhibiting self-harm. People are absolutely devastated. This is, as 26 years as a prosecutor, I never saw this devastated of humans. When you take away their entire financial footing and on the same day they realize that this love affair that they were so committed to was also fictitious, people don't know how to move on from that, especially if they are a 70-year-old widow who now has to go take a minimum wage job. That's what's happening in bulk all over the country. Now, I've got to tell you about where this is coming from. This is coming from Southeast Asia, and this is coming at the hands of transnational organized crime. And the amount, this is an old slide, it says billions of dollars. It's hundreds of billions, if not $1 trillion in losses, in theft. That's a generation's worth of wealth moving offshore into the hands of bad actors. I want to tell you how this began. So when I talk about who's behind this, I'm talking about Chinese organized crime. And I do mean Chinese organized crime. I mean triad level organized crime. And they realized that there is an appetite among Chinese people for gambling. And China made it very clear that there would be no gambling in their country. And so these bad actors thought, well, we can make the new Macau in this city called Sihanoukville, Cambodia. It's a beautiful, beachy backpacker city. And the bad actors thought, well, here's what we'll do. We will build a bunch of casino towers and we will draw everybody down here. And then they'll have gambling and they'll have cryptocurrency, which also is they have an appetite for, but is not allowed in China. So off they go building all of this. And then COVID hits and nobody's moving. And now they've got these empty towers. And they think to themselves, well, what are we going to do with empty towers? Aha, we will do Sha Zhu Pan. And that is their term. That is the literal translation is killing pig plate or pig butchering. The idea is we will get people to fall in love with us, and then we will fatten them up with love bombing, and then we will slit their throat and take every penny they have. And so that's what they set up to do in Cambodia. Now, to do that, they've got to fill those towers with people, and they filled them with people just like the man I spoke to this afternoon, who told me he was making $100 a month in an internet cafe in Uganda. And when a fellow Ugandan came in and told him he could make $1,000 a month, at age 23, he couldn't resist that opportunity. And he thought, why not? Why not go to Bangkok and be a computer operator? And that's what he set out to do. And what he found when he got there was that those casino towers have now been walled off to a 2-story high cement barrier. You can see inside the Chinese markings, the Chinese lettering for shops. This has now become a compound that is run by Chinese organized crime in an extremely violent way. Each of those rooms there that you see, imagine a college dorm, but now imagine 16 college dorms. And imagine that in those dorm rooms, there are 4 deckers, as my friend called them today. I know them as bunk beds, but 8 people to a room. And my friend arrived in Bangkok for this job only to be told, okay, you're a scammer now. This is what you do, and you work 16 hours a day. And if you don't do it, you will be shocked with this electric baton. You'll be beaten with this cane. And it's a horrific, absolutely violent existence where there seems to be no other alternative for these people. They are locked in, they can't leave, and they're being punished. And so that's what they do. They become scammers, going after Americans, Brazilians, Chinese, people from the UK, all nations, any nation that has any money to spare, they're going after them to do this work. When I was a prosecutor for 26 and a half years. I recently retired to do this work full time. But when I was a prosecutor, they told me it was too dangerous for me to go to Cambodia. So the week that I retired, I took myself to Cambodia because I needed to see for myself how bad it was on the ground floor there. And I drove over 1,000 miles, and what I saw changed my life. I've never seen this kind of construction anywhere on any part of the planet at any time in history. What you're looking at here, I live in California, and I know the drive well to Los Angeles because that's where I went to college. And it's farmland, and it's complete farmland, and that's exactly what Cambodia looks like. But rising out in the middle with nothing else around it are these massive structures. And why this picture is particularly important is it shows you the evolution. You look at the building in the foreground. That's what was built in 2020, where they thought, let's see if this thing will work. Let's try this. And what they found was this was the most lucrative operation in the history of ever. And they've gone full force into it. Look at the building behind it. It is literally a block long. You look at that thing, you can see it's immense. And it's just residential. There's nothing around this. There's no businesses. There's no other things to do. There's no entertainment. These are block long buildings that are built for the purpose of housing human trafficked workers to steal your money. And why this was particularly egregious was it was all over Cambodia. I drove 1,000 miles, and it was consistent what I saw. What I saw and what is accurate is that that is the economy of Cambodia now. They are scammers. That's what they do. That is 60% of their GDP, where their economy used to be based on tourism and garments. It is now the economy of scamming. And even if you ask anyone on the street, hey, what's happening in that building? They'll say, oh, they do online in there. That's what they do. It is a known business. It is a known opportunity. And that's what is happening at a scale. When I was in Cambodia, I just thought to myself, we've lost this. Where have we been that we allowed this to happen? Here's another example. This picture was taken by Amnesty International. This is a walled compound, as you can see. And look how garish it is. Like, we're not even trying to hide this. We're not even trying to conceal this. We couldn't be more obvious in the midst of all this farmland that we are running a dormitory-based scam operation. But it's not just Cambodia where this is happening. This is also happening at scale in Myanmar, particularly on the Thai-Myanmar border. And if you've ever heard anything about scam compounds, you've likely heard about KK Park. KK Park was the original. It was the first piece of land that was converted for the purpose of scamming. All of this was built for the purpose of scamming. And that's what they did. What we're looking at right here, we are on the Thai side of the border. You can see that Thai telecommunications tower there, which should give you pause. And then you see on the other side of the Moy River, this massive complex that is KK Park. The telecommunications tower, why is our ally Thailand supporting giving the internet connectivity to people who are stealing all of our money? But this is what keeps me up at night. This is a picture of, this is a Google Earth type picture taken in February 2020. Now you can see, I call them like camel humps. The Moy River makes this S curve here. And what you can see is on the bottom half, that's Myanmar. On the top half, you can see a Thai village that looks very appropriate and very, very normal for these circumstances. And you can see that there's next to nothing built in February 2020. And this is what it looks like in just 2.5 years later, that they've managed to build this entire city, this entire crazy city with literally dozens and dozens and dozens of buildings. And these are not small buildings. You've seen them on the picture in the front. These are not small buildings. These are massive buildings that they've been able to build for the purpose of housing human trafficked victims to steal all of our money. And this is what it looks like in 2025. So now they've built out that whole first camel hump. They've built out the second camel hump. And in the middle, that dirt patch, I can tell you when I was on the ground across the river from this in March of this year, that was already built out with 7-story buildings. This is not stopping. This is continued growth, massive growth. And you might say, if you are in the middle of this, you might say, Aaron, I heard that KK Park was being demolished. No, you heard wrong. Let me tell you what is happening. It is a major PR stunt. And if you look at some of the buildings, if you look at, if you see where it says Him Swan Cafe with the coffee cup, and let's say you take that down into KK Park, imagine a couple of those buildings being destroyed. That's it. It's a maximum 6 buildings, 7 buildings that have been destroyed. And be honest, that this is a dispute between the organized criminals and the organized militia that protects that area. This is not a crackdown in any way. And yes, there were great news. There are about 2,000 human trafficked workers who were able to get out. But we're talking about tens of thousands inside KK Park. The UN has estimated 120,000 people in captivity in forced criminality in Myanmar and about the same amount in Cambodia. And that was 3 years ago. And we know that this is a growth industry. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people that are in slavery today. I talked to you about the Thai telecommunications tower. And they finally took that down. I started talking about that in 2022, and they finally took that down in 2025. But not until these satellite receivers were on the roofs of KK Park. And that, my friends, is Starlink. And so what we need to think about when we are constantly thinking about where are the gaps, where can we make a difference, where can we figure out ways to make it more expensive, more time consuming, more difficult for these bad actors to do their work, we need to think of the American companies that are enabling this. And one of them is Elon Musk's Starlink that is providing the internet connectivity. Now you might say, Aaron, I just heard they turned off a bunch of those receivers. Yes, they did. They did. But there are many others that are still functional. So what we need to do is we need to be putting continued pressure on our own government, on our own companies to do better. Now, if you thought that these were isolated compounds, you are wrong. There are dozens upon dozens in the Thai Myanmar area where KK Park is located. This is one example. But it's also happening in Dubai. What we are seeing is Chinese organized crime is seeing that this model works. And if there are places on this planet where they can embed themselves and pay off superiors to allow this to happen, that's exactly what they will do. There is too much money in this. Even people who generally would not be willing to give up their good morals for money, when you're talking about this amount of money, all of a sudden, grandsons are wearing $5 million watches and everybody's flying private. That's what's happening. It's also a problem in the Philippines. This is a scam compound that is inside Metro Manila. It is 5 blocks from the US Embassy. It is in full view of plenty of government buildings in the Philippines. We can no longer allow these operations to prosper in plain sight. But what I'll tell you is this building here was a scam compound, and I got to see it after it got raided. So I want to show you a little bit of what it looks like on the inside of a scam compound. I'm in the garage of the compound now where they've kept their cars that they were seized. They told me that this one was a level 6 armored car. Didn't know what that meant. What it means, as it turns out, is that it can withstand all kinds of ballistics as much as AK-47. So listen to this. Can't hear it. Compare it to this. That's what regular windows sound like. So this car is a Range Rover. This one back here is a Cadillac Escalade, which is a big show of wealth in the Philippines. So these are the cars that they bulletproofed and that would drive the bosses around in. So literally mob boss style transportation within the major cities of the Philippines. I got to see an even bigger rated compound area. We've just arrived at Bonbon. It was supposed to be an hour and a half drive, about a 3-hour drive from Manila, but the scale of this place is incomprehensible. You emerge from rural Philippines into this massive complex. It's more than 35 buildings and was designed and built for the sole purpose of scamming. I can't wait to take you through. And this is one of the rooms inside where the scamming took place. They left a lot of the documents right there. Hi friends, I am standing in 100-degree heat and humidity to bring you this story. We are inside a scam facility in Bonbon, the Philippines, where they have left behind all their stuff. We've got scripts. We've got the notebooks where they kept all the information. We've got, "You must be a smooth criminal for stealing my heart." And on the wall here, we've got our Chinese organized crime messages reminding us to do good work and steal lots of money. You can see the massive wire situation we have going on here, and it's eerie to be in rooms that I know were responsible for stealing billions of dollars from the United States and for housing people who were hit with baseball bats when they couldn't make their quotas in here. It's hard to imagine that this is happening today and tomorrow and the next day. What really was super poignant to me in August of this year was when they figured out and were able to prove that sextortion is coming out of these compounds as well. So if you don't care about people being financially defrauded, if you don't care about the Chinese military getting a leg up on us, which I didn't even have time to go in, that's a whole nother time. If you want to hear about that, it would be my pleasure. If you don't care about human traffic victims, you've got to care about our teenage boys that are killing themselves. And that is happening also at scale as a result of this horrific activity. In the few short minutes we have left, I want to tell you about what can be done. I operate from a perspective of what if we could. I operate from a perspective of this is not acceptable what is happening right now, and we are not handling it well. And we have got to do better. We owe our kids better than this. We owe our global neighbors better than this. We owe our elderly population better than this. And so when I looked around my house about what I could do in 2022, we were getting a lot of victims of this crime. And we looked at this from what if we could figure out how to seize that cryptocurrency and get it back in the hands of victims? And we were able to do that. And we were first in the nation to get that done. But what we saw was that that was great, but there were a lot of people who were not getting served. That if you happen to live in Santa Clara County, California, good on you. But if you lived somewhere else, you probably weren't going to meet with law enforcement who knew how to do this work. Yet another clever advantage of the enemy to choose a crime that law enforcement really doesn't know much about how to investigate. And so we made it our mission on my team to inspire and educate local and state law enforcement to do this work. And we found partners who were doing the same work we were, and they were amazing partners. And together we built a coalition, and we called it the Crypto Coalition. We started in 22 with 85 members of state, local, federal, international law enforcement. And now we're up to over 2,400 active members of law enforcement. And I am here to tell you, I have never met a more collegial, helpful group that is here for each other to teach. This is how we need to get on top of investigation of a new technology, because there's no choice but to do this. What if we could? We don't have a chance if we don't. And it also made it obvious to me that there was great work that I was doing in law enforcement, and bringing that crypto coalition together was an amazing accomplishment and continues today. But in order to have real impact globally, I needed to leave my law enforcement role and do this full time. So I retired. I retired from prosecution to start a nonprofit called OperationShamrock.org. We are operating with the mission of educate people, that educate everybody that this is happening, mobilize against transnational organized crime and disrupt it. And that's what we do. We are action oriented. We don't just talk about it. We are about it. We are walking the walk. We are in the weeds, and we are looking to make change every day. We've done some amazing things. We've built a great website that is a resource for victims, but what it also is a place where you can report it. And if you are in a location where law enforcement doesn't know how to help you, report a scam. And one of our vetted, active law enforcement officers will get back to you and will give you an answer, if nothing else, an answer, so that you can get some closure. But to do all this work, we can't do all this work without funding. And that's where we find ourselves at the moment, is we've built an amazing machine that is capable of doing a lot more, but we just need to start working on funding. Exceptionally educational. On Fridays, we meet with victims, and we meet with them for the purpose of, you're going to meet Michelle after me. Michelle and I do this with some of our other colleagues. We meet with victims to hear them out and to look for the gaps in what happened to them, from banking, from financial institutions, from law enforcement. It's telling can you hear me? It says my internet connection is unstable. Did you lose me? I'm unstable in Uganda. I'm unstable. But here's what we do. We hear you out. We look for the gaps, and we provide information back to you about, we anonymize it. And, here major bank, maybe not allow people to go branch to branch to branch in the San Francisco Bay Area, taking out just 10,000 at a time. And then they've got 90,000 in cash in an afternoon that they're going to hand over to a courier. We're not here to judge. We're here to educate, and we're here to say, hey, how is that happening? And then I learn, oh, it's happening because you do your daily dump at the end of the day, and you guys aren't talking to each other in real time. What can be done about that? That's what we're looking for. I started a podcast. I started a podcast for people like my Aunt Terry to learn about what is happening. And I'll tell you what, my Aunt Terry called me 3 weeks after she started listening to this podcast and said, yeah, the lady I play pickleball with told me that her son is in something like this. So believe me, you know somebody that is in this, and you need to be prepared to help people navigate their way out of it. But what I need you guys to do is make noise. I need you guys to understand that this is a national security threat. This is a war level offense. They are stealing a generation's worth of wealth. And we are not doing a great job of banding together in the fight against it. So I would encourage you to join Operation Shamrock. Fill out the form. I'll be having a meeting, an all-sham meeting in the middle of November to talk about specifically what can be done. So I'm always going to leave you with a concrete takeaway, and my concrete takeaway is this: I never leave an Uber without having a discussion with my Uber driver about this. And so I don't care if you're talking to your Uber driver or your sister or your cousin. I need you to tell somebody about this today. I need you to move the needle on getting this information out, because this opportunity, and you guys know where to find me, and it would be my pleasure to help you navigate your own space.
You're outstanding. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the work that you do. I appreciate you coming in from such a remote area, doing the work that you do. And I think today has energized the payments ecosystem to get on board with your fight. The next session we have coming up, it's going live in a moment, is to train the trainer. And we did this on purpose to get more people thinking and activating themselves in their community. Forget the payments world, forget your job, your mom, your cousin, the Uber driver, and certainly the pickleball crowd. They adore scams like this, sadly. You be safe. It's there's a target, right? You, my friend, stay
Yep,
safe.
yep.
I will see you soon. And to everybody who stayed
So
this late in the
good.
session, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you guys.